And we are rolling on November 30th at UCLA, where it's a beautiful day. The sunshine is shining. And we're about to have a debate on debate number 9, as John would like to say, abolish the death penalty. On the affirmative is me, June. And on the negative is not he, him.
Hi everyone, my name is Mei Jinghe. Today our topic is abolish the death penalty. My proposition will be presented as the quality case in affirmative. Now, what is death penalty? The death penalty refers to someone's life. The citizen's rights are deprived by their execution. Prisoners who suffer from such deprivation usually commit serious crime. Today, there are 96 countries in the world abolish death penalty, no matter what crime is. There are 9 countries that abolish the death penalty, except the treason, subverting the state, and furthering the war. There's 34 countries have the death penalty in the law, but didn't use it in the past decade. Only 58 countries have executed the death penalty in the past decade. The topic we're discussing today is not about the death penalty itself, but the significance of the matter of the law in our society. Only when people improve their quality to a certain extent, people can understand that a person's life should not be arbitrarily deprived. Even the person is a criminal, even his life taken by the law. For the most important thing, the murder killed the man, the law deprives the murderer's life, and this could not save the man who had been killed. Why do we have the problem? According to the American Civil Liberties Union, the death penalty
Can you step over in the center where you're supposed to be standing? Thank you.
Violate the constitutional guarantee the equal protection. In 2000, the American media reported research results from University of Chicago, which last for 2 years, show that the death penalty case in misjudgment rate is as high as 68% in America. The earliest record of the death penalty appeals the law of Hammurabi in the 19th century. The death penalty was original for the God wash in the purpose. Progress in the civilization has led to growing the public dissatisfaction with the abuse. There is no longer any tolerance for the death penalty. Finally, the government was forced to apply more application for its method of punishment of replace the death penalty. This is a sign for the progress of human legal civilization. The justice deprived death. The certain execution case has repeatedly been confirmed is undisputed, but many cases have caused us to see terrible misjudgment. Before we talking about the solution, I'm strongly agree if a country do not have a completely social welfare system, mature social and prison security system, the fair education level of the citizens have not been made. Those countries are not qualified to discuss the abolish the death penalty. So, based on the above asset, I suggest 4 solutions. First, the prison will be forced to work in the job to contribute to the society and the victim family. Number 2, criminals who refuse to work will be put into a medical experiment. Number 3, criminals are free to kill themselves, and all the organs will be donated to the hospital. Instead of the death penalty, life prisoner will be used without any form of body. With the solution to accomplish the solution, 3 conditions have to be made. The country and the government of the society is fully developed, and enough security prison will be built. The mature working system have to be built. Make sure the prison labor transfer to the economic value. Even there's not research showing the abolish the death penalty will increase the criminal rate, but many people concerned that it will happen. But most of my friends say my solution is even worse than the death penalty. So if the death penalty can threaten the people against the criminal, my solution can even do better. What's the advantage for your proposal? It embodies the equality of life, and no one has the right to determine the life or death of another person. Give it enough room to reflection, respect for it, and change to turn over a new life. Some financial compensation will be given to the victim's family. The disadvantage is a huge society and finance problem, and the dispute of inequality and justice. Abolishing the death penalty will increase the cost of prison system and will be detrimental to the country finance. At the end of my speech, I have to say, everyone is born in a different environment and face different situations. Some of the convicts are also like the victim of the society problem. However, some people probably never have to face a situation that prison experience. So we have no right to depress others' right of life. Many prisons will turn over newly after the prison reform. This is good for the society and for themselves. We should give them a chance. I'm standing for the
Cross-examination and points of clarification. Thank you so much. Give her a round of applause. Okay, stand close together, please. Stand in the middle. In the middle. Move over that way, please. Yeah, that's perfect. That's middle. Good. Okay. Begin, please.
You mentioned that in your solution you'll be providing compensation for the victims' families. How exactly is this compensation? What is the source of this compensation?
As a job, like all the criminal, they have to be like the lifetime in prison, so they have to like become like the work labor. So they will like after they work, they will get some like the value for the society and for the victim's family.
Okay. You also called the death penalty a form of treason and murder, but did you know that it was actually deemed constitutional by the 8th Amendment, is not considered cruel and unusual? How is that considered murder if it's a state-sanctioned penalty rather than like a form of heinous crime?
It's like most of like the criminal have to be like that penalty. They murder someone. It have to be like some life has
Look out here! Look out
in
here!
the case. So even there's some case with the drunk or something, we have the death penalty. But most of the case is like the murder case.
Could you cite your University of Chicago source again? That's the 68%, because I think you said the year 2000, and that has been more than about 17 years ago. That's an outdated source.
Even I searched like the recently source. Like there's like a country like Bhutan, Philippines, Ucla, and Western media. After they completely abolish the death penalty, they are not like increasing of any like criminal rate. It's even decrease of the criminal rate. So it's like nowadays rate like.
But don't you think every nation is different from the United States? Especially in the United States, every state is different. It's not like the death penalty is existing in every single of the 50 states. Actually, 31 of the states are currently using the death penalty, and every state, in fact, is different as well. So how can we say that America is the same as other nations to abolish the death penalty?
I just do the research. According to the Death Penalty Information Centers, in the 2009, the maintain of death penalty have like.
That's time. Thank you so much. Okay, it's now time for the leader of the opposition for her constructive speech not to exceed 6 minutes in length. Begin.
Hi, my name is Nahi. Resolved.
Hi, Nahi.
Resolved. Abolish the death penalty. This proposition will be presented as a policy debate case from the negative stance, and the criteria for assessing is the cost-benefit analysis. In the modern American criminal justice system, the death penalty exists to punish hardcore criminals convicted and sentenced to death. According to an article in the San Bernardino local news, as of October 2016, more than 1,000 victims have suffered at the hands of these criminals, including over 200 children and 43 police officers. Of those victims, 235 were raped, 90 were tortured. America's criminal justice system ensures that these cases are carefully scrutinized and examined before capital punishment is actually executed. However, my opponent argues that my opponent is trying to put down capital punishment, which is a reasonable, justified method to punish the worst offenders. Since the outdated 1972 Furman v. George court case that took place more than 45 years ago, times have changed. Technology has improved, and the death penalty still thrives to serve justice. The harsh truth is that opponents of the death penalty are overstating and exaggerating the issue, making the problem seem much larger than it actually is. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, the 2016 National Prisoner Statistics Program, from January 1st to December 31st of 2016, only 5 states executed 20 inmates. That's the fewest since 1991. In fact, according to the Death Penalty Information Center's 2016 year-end report, the year 2016 marks the 7th consecutive year of decline in executions across the country. This refutes the rational cries of opponents who argue that too many criminals are killed by the death penalty every year, when in fact only 20 of the more than 1.5 million inmates were rightfully served justice for their wrongdoings. In addition, according to Amnesty International's Death Penalty in 2016 Facts and Figures, the U.S. was not one of the 5 biggest executors, falling to 7th behind other countries. The death penalty is an effective policy that is recognized and used worldwide. Although every nation is different, America is not alone in administering proper justice to the worst offenders. Much of the cost associated with the death penalty is also attributed to the decades of appeals that drags on the process, but I will present a solution that can improve our current penal system by a reformed policy. Unconstitutional? No. In the Greg v. George court case, the court held that the death penalty itself was constitutional under the 8th Amendment as long as proper safeguards are in place. Invoking harm on the innocent from wrongful conviction? Highly unlikely. The increasing number of death row inmates who were exonerated show that the innocent eventually save their lives in the fair trial process. According to the National Registry of Exonerations by the University of Michigan Law School published in March 2017, the year 2016 had 166 exonerations in 25 states. That is a very small number in the nearly 50 years since 1973. And more importantly, these death row inmates were able to evict wrongful punishment thanks to the current system that arduously checks cases to reduce the likelihood of flaws. With all proper safeguards in place, the defendants have rights to a fair trial, plenty of opportunity to appeal, making sure that the innocent are not wrongly executed. The solution is to mend, not end, the death penalty. America's criminal justice system is not perfect, but instead of abolishing a sound policy, we should reform it. To address the problem of delay, we should limit or speed up appeals in ways that are still consistent with the due process rights of defendants. And take a look at California, where Proposition 66 was passed to change how appeals are handled and also set a 5-year deadline for appeals to be heard. This can save significant time from the upwards of 25 years to exhaust all appeals. According to Kent Scheidegger, legal director of Criminal Justice Foundation in Sacramento, who also partially drafted the Proposition 66, the proposal would move petitions out of the overburdened Supreme Court and into the court that actually conducted the original trial, who are already familiar with the case, and this also eliminates bureaucratic barriers to carrying out executions. Another way to reform the death penalty is removing the privileges from death row inmates, who currently reside in costly single-person cells with their own TV, radio, without being required to work or pay restitution for their crimes. By shortening the appeals process and eliminating single-cell housing for death row inmates, states can drastically reduce the costs associated with capital punishment and utilize a more effective, reformed method in carrying out justice. Therefore, it is clear that the proposed solution will work. Once again, I'm against the complete abolition of the death penalty. Yes, it may seem like an extreme policy, but it still has value, result, and impact in such extreme cases. The advantages. The death penalty assures that the harmful criminal can never commit a wrongful crime again. Just its mere existence has a significant effect on the recurrence risk, jailbreak risk, and also serves as an impactful deterrence. It's also advantageous because of modern technology, which continues to improve every day. This lowers risk of failure, improved DNA testing, which can also effectively eliminate almost all uncertainty in the crime scene by reducing possibility of error in conviction. According to the 2015 CNN Politics article in Court Papers, Patrick Wyrick, the Solicitor General of Oklahoma, said the state's current protocol does not present substantial risk of pain and cannot be considered cruel. A lower court found that 500 milligrams dose would with near certainty render these petitioners unconscious and unable to feel pain. Therefore, improved lethal injections with better science and research will ensure the death penalty is constitutional, not cruel and unusual. Also, the solution provides closure for the victims' families, much better than life imprisonment. In Virginia, criminals were found enjoying softball and basketball outdoors, while the victims had been tortured, raped, and beaten to death. Life imprisonment does not seem to send an effective message of moral order, and we cannot afford leniency at the expense of public danger and more pain, trauma, and suffering for the victims' families. On balances, the reformed death penalty's benefits outweigh abolition. The current penal system needs to be mended and reformed if we truly want to deliver the best results for the victims, their families, and the rest of the public. Merely abolishing the policy will not effectively bring justice to the land of liberty, freedom, and justice. I now stand open for cross-examination and clarification.
Thank you very much.
There's many children and females have been killed during the speech. If there was like a misjudgment for the criminal, or the criminal has to pretend themselves, or they are threatened to commit crime, do you think like the death penalty is fair to them?
Look at the audience.
Once again, as I mentioned during my case, actually wrongful conviction is very highly unlikely and very rare with improved technology such as DNA testing. That removes almost all uncertainty as to the person's guilt or innocence. And technology continues to improve every day. It's only going to get better.
You mentioned like so many justice during your speech. Since my suggestion is not like not punish the criminal, it's punish more to the criminal. So what's the meaning of the death maintain like the death penalty is about like the revenge? Is that the revenge?
I would like to focus on the fact that the policy that we are debating right now is abolish the death penalty, and it is not a form of revenge. It is actually a form of retribution. It is a way to punish the worst of the worst criminals who truly deserve, the punishment for what they have done, for their wrongdoing.
So the justice, like you mentioned like so many times, is all about like the death penalty. So once like the criminal die, so the justice can like show up. It's like not any like commendation for the victim's family. So that's like the justice show.
The death penalty does provide closure for the victims' families. If, again, as I mentioned during my case, if the prisoners are in life imprisonment, but they're able to enjoy recreational activities, playing basketball outside, while the victims' families are suffering, and the victim has been tortured, already murdered, and cannot get their life back, I don't understand how justice should not be served to these wrongful criminals.
Things like the criminal have paid his life as the price, like he's paid. Like how the victim's family, if they're old or children or like the females, how can they guarantee like without any compensation to their life? For their life.
Look at the audience.
It seems like you're debating on an emotional topic, and I like to focus on the logical fact that it is a rational policy.
Time. Thank you very much. Okay, time for your rebuttal. There's 4 steps to rebuttal. She said, I disagree, because, therefore, we should abolish the death penalty. That's how it's done. Thank you. Begin.
She said, like, the justice need to maintain. And I'm totally agree. Yes, the justice should be maintained. But our like technology developments for many reasons, and the experiment with the death prison of one of them. Although the most experiment use like the prison within South permitted, it's still like the instant behavior because like the compared to taking the experiment, it's only the choice that the prisoner have to the only choice the prisoner is death. So like there's like so many cases like nowadays, like China, like one-child policy. If like the family only have like one child, they have like 2 parents and 4 grandparents. So if once like the victim pay his like life as like the price he did, like the criminal he did, there's like no one can support the whole family living, the 6 people. If like the government go to maintain like all the family living, it would cost much more than keep the criminal in the prison lifetime to work to give the compensation for the life. So I agree to abolish the death penalty, but it's not in today. So the condition of the mature social security system and the drug system and the fair education level of the citizen have been met. At that time, we can like completely abolish the death penalty. The death penalty is a sign of like development of society with the remarkable improvement of the society stand. There is no doubt that it will be worked out as like a development of human culture.
Thank you very much. And now for the final rebuttal, which has 4 steps to it. She said, I disagree because, therefore, we should not ban the death penalty.
The death penalty is currently in use by 31 states as an active measure of retribution for the worst criminals. America is using it more efficiently and reserving it for the worst of the worst offenders. With modern technology and better drugs that ensure quick and uncruel death, the policy proves to be constitutional with the 8th Amendment. The death penalty is not a simple murder based on revenge and hatred. Rather, it is a way to punish serial killers, child rapists, torture murderers for their brutal action, and is a righteous process enforced upon criminals who truly deserve it. My opponent cited other countries to abolish the death penalty, but I disagree because no country and no state is even precisely mirroring each other. The complete abolition of death penalty removes the option of proper righteous punishment in these cases. How is a life imprisonment a better alternative if serial killers are able to enjoy recreational activities in single-celled housing while victims' families are suffering in pain and trauma? My opponent also cited worrying about the executed criminals' families, but I disagree because the victims' families, who were the ones who actually suffered from the case, should be our number one priority, and public safety is also what America's criminal justice system should be focusing on. Yes, mistakes do and can happen, but very rarely so. Few false convictions are ever discovered, and the roots of the problem can be improved by better technology. The current penal system is not perfect, but it can be improved by reforming the appeals process and death row privileges. In states that currently allow the death penalty, we should set a deadline for the appeals to be heard and put them before original trial court judges who are already familiar with the case. This saves both time and money, while confiscating privileges like recreational activities and single-cell housing for criminals on death row will improve death penalty while still upholding its effectiveness and reducing the potential jailbreak risk. I am not calling for a frequent or excessive use of the death penalty. Rather, it still has value in instilling fear and serves as a perfectly reasonable practice if used in appropriate measures that call for extreme measures with proper safeguards in place. Therefore, we should not abolish the death penalty. We should mend it, not end it.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, judges, please vote. Armin, please facilitate the vote. And we have the ballots properly screened. I get the ballots. Thank you, sir. Okay. That's good. Okay, I'm guessing, Gil, from your points. Everyone voted? Everyone turned in a ballot. In a 1-17 decision, it goes for the opposition. Without putting the one on the spot, the person that voted in favor of abolishing the death penalty, could we hear your reasoning, please?
4 minutes.
We have only 4 minutes. Yes, please. Who voted for the in favor of the government? They didn't sign it, so you're not going to admit it? Okay. Let's hear some comments. I love you, but you're hogging the discussion. Let's hear, this woman's very intelligent. I want to hear what she has to say. Come on. Can you lose the hat? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily.
Hi, Emily.
I really liked listening to Nahi's cross-examination. I thought she had really good points to bring, and she answered Majin's questions really well.
In her rebuttal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I thought she addressed all of the points very well. I agree with what she said, and she had really current sources.
Yeah, very current sources, where some of the other sources were dubious and old. Yeah. Okay, one other comment. We have time for one or two more comments. Okay, sir.
Hi, I'm Daniel.
Danny, I'm going to come over here because the sun is just blowing you away.
So, Meiji, do you remember what
Meiji,
did you remember what you said the first week regarding the death penalty? You don't. Does anybody here remember that?
I do.
You do? Okay. So basically, like, this is a very, a lot of debate topics are very sensitive, and above all, this is really a moral issue. And when you argue that, like, we should put, I'm just going to be blunt, like, when you argue that we should put prisoners to work,
Or steal their kidneys?
yeah, that's that I would consider that worse than the death penalty. So you have to, I mean, is this your, like, first debate class?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so this is a good learning point. So just be considerate of all the issues in hand, and, like, when you argue for a solution, you don't want to make things worse. You want to make things better. Do you see what I'm saying?
Or like, it's like the prisoner, like their work today. Even I didn't say that, but they work today.
They do work today, but their
Yeah,
solution...
they do work today.
Yes.
Well, they work in China anyway. Let's hear it. You want to speak, so speak.
I want to speak to him. Because
Stand up.
why?
How'd you vote, and what'd you think?
I voted.
What'd you like? What's your name?
I'm Bianca.
Hi, Bianca.
Hi.
Hi, Bianca.
I'm going next. So this is. Sorry, my brain's not working. I voted for the opposition just because, like, for the same reason everyone else did. But, yeah, I mean, it was just. Her evidence, the quality of her evidence was stronger, and she framed the argument in a better way. And, like, I agree with Daniel that the moral implications of the government's suggestion are. I have qualms with them.
Yeah. One thing I want to say. Oh, thank you. Let's have the next group be going up there. Yeah. Let's have the next group be going into the front, please. One thing I want to say about this approach is that there are moral arguments, there are practical arguments, and one thing that was very nicely done by Ms. Kim is she didn't take the extreme view of let's just, go all the way. She said, let's not end it, let's mend it. And she had these little minor repairs of fixing it and stuff. So it made her seem very reasonable in that respect, and I like that very much. Where's your opponent? Okay.